Today I will again take some good questions of trigonometry which is related to quadrant formula as well as domain of function and range of a function too. First of all, I want to revise you about which I have already discussed in your previous classes. In the previous class, I have discussed some good problems which is related to trigonometric function which is simply related to quadrant formula as well as domain of function and range of a function. Today I will again discuss some selected good problems which is mainly related to domain of function and range of a function of a trigonometric function and graph of a trigonometric function, some basic concept of graph of trigonometric function and period of a trigonometric function. After it, I think I will again discuss compound angle and multiple and submultiple angle. First of all, I will take some examples. Class 11th mathematics for ICSE. For examples, 21. It is given that if xy belongs to R, if xy belongs to R, means that if x and y are real numbers, so that equation x square plus y square into sec square theta is equal to 2xy is possible only when x is equal to y but not is equal to 0. If x and y are elements of real number and x square plus y square times sec square theta is equal to 2 times xy, then you have to show that it is possible only that case when x is equal to y but not is equal to 0. How can you prove it? First of all, I think I have already told you about, I will discuss today all those problems which is related to domain and range of a function. First of all, I want to give you some interesting fact. As you know that cos theta is always greater than or equal to minus 1 but less than or equal to 1. I think you already know about it. A cos theta is greater than or equal to minus 1 but less than or equal to 1. It is a range of this function. This is a range of this. It is a range of this function, that means cos theta. Similarly, sin theta also greater than or equal to minus 1 but less than or equal to 1. But do you know there is an interesting fact? If you square on both sides, then what does it affect its interval? Then cos square theta is greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 1 because cos theta lies between minus 1 and 1. As you know that when you square any real number, then you will definitely get always positive number. In this case, if you divide this, that means cos theta lies between minus 1 and 1. That means if you take a statement, then there will be minus 1 here, 0 and 1. Then if you square, there exists minus 0.99, minus 0.98, minus 0.97, minus 0.50, minus 0.45. There are many real number exist between minus 1 and 0 which are negative. Similarly, there also exist many positive real numbers that exist between 0 and 1. For example, 0.5, 0.525, 0.53, 0.98, 0.84. But if you square, in that case, what will be happen here? Then there you always get always positive number because in this case, if you take suppose that 0.52, then if you square on both sides, definitely negative double time, that means positive is. Similarly, if you square any elements, that means you get if cos theta lies between minus 1 to 1, then its square lies 0 to 1. Similarly, sin square theta also. I think you understand our goal to say about it. Now, I want to go your main problems. I think you understand this point. First of all, in this problem given that x square plus y square times sec square theta is equal to 2xy. So, from this equation you can say that sec square theta is equal to 2xy divided by x square plus y square. Using formula of cos square theta, you can see that sec square theta is equal to reciprocal of 1 upon cos square theta. Sorry, reciprocal of cos square theta. So you can write 2x divided by cos square x square plus y square. That implies that also cos square theta is equal to x square plus y square by 2xy. I think you understand my method. Now I want to rub it. You got cos square theta is equal to x square plus y square to xy. Now, is it possible or not? How can you say about it? As you know that cos square theta is always positive, which is greater than or equal to 0 but less than always 1. In that case, what can you say about this expression? Is it true or not? First of all, you have to write it as you know that cos square theta is always greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 1. That implies that if you put the value of cos square theta in the place of it, you get definitely cos x square plus y square divided by 2xy is always greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 1. As you know that it is now I want to say you, as you know that x square plus y square is always positive number. Always positive number. Now, if you take, suppose that if you take, there are two ways after it you can conclude about x and y. But I want to firstly give you a simple math by which you can understand. You have to divide it into two parts. In first part, and it will be the second part. In first part, as you know that x square plus y square by 2xy. X square plus y square by 2xy. From this expression, what can you conclude about it? If x is equal to not y, if x is equal to not, sorry, if x is equal to y is equal to, you can say about it, if x is equal to not 0, y is equal to not 0. Or in other words, you can say that if x is equal to not 0, if x is equal to not 0, then what can you say about it? As you know that if according to this problem, you have to show that it is only true when x is equal to but not equal to 0. Here x square plus y square by 2xy. As you know that since x square plus y square is always greater than 0 because it is sum of a square of two numbers. According to this problem, x and y are real numbers. That means if you divide a square x is real number x and real number y, definitely you get both will be positive number. If you add that, definitely you get again positive number. That means definitely sum of a square of both real number will be always greater than 0. So you have don't worry with it, since if x is equal to not 0 and y is equal to not 0, then you can say that if x is equal to not 0, y is equal to not 0, then it will be very simple. In that case, it is true. If xy is greater than 0, because if xy become negative, if x time y become negative, then it whole expression will be negative. In that case, it can't be true. Because x square plus y square by 2xy is greater than or equal to 0. As you know that x square plus y square is always greater than or equal to 0. That means always positive. If always positive with x is equal to not 0 and y is equal to not 0, then there exists single case. If it is true, this is true when xy is greater than 0. If xy is greater than 0, then there exists two possibilities. Maybe x is equal to negative and y is equal to negative. In this case, if you take product of both of them, then you will get definitely greater than 0. But second case also there exists. If you take, now first of all I want to rub it. this part I want to rub it. If xy is greater than 0, you can suppose it as just like equation first. Now I want to take second part, that means x square plus y square by 2xy less than or equal to 1. You can cross multiply on both sides, because you already know about it. The whole expression is a positive because it is greater than 0. That means definitely it will be a positive. In case of positive, you can cross multiply. X square plus y square is less than 2xy. That implies that if you take in the left side, you get definitely x minus y whole square. That means 0. In that case, x minus y whole square is less than or equal to 0. X minus y whole square is less than or equal to 0. As you know that this expression is always positive number because it is a square of a real number. X minus y is a real number. As you know that x and y are real number, so x minus y is also real number. In that case, definitely a square of real number is always a real number. Since it is a positive real number, it can't be less than 0. There is possibility it will maybe 0, but can't be less than 0. So x minus y is equal to 0. That means x barabar y. You get x is equal to y. Now it will be second case, and according to first case, I want to rub this. Firstly, I want to rub this, and I want to go directly on your question. As you know that if you take x is equal to y and y is equal to x, if x or y, if one of the any value among x and y will be 0, in that case whole expression undefined. So you can say that if x if among x and y, if one of the value of x and y among x and y be 0, then expression is not defined. So it is true if x is equal to y but not is equal to 0. Other than, as you know that you can take negative value of x and y, you can take positive value of x and y, but if you take x is equal to 0 or y is equal to 0, that means any value of x and y 0 among them, then you definitely get in denominator not defined. In that case you can't say anything. So according to this conclusion, you can say that it is possible only that case when x is equal to y but not equal to 0. This is true fact. Now I go in next concept. I think this is very simple, but actual meaning of domain and range of function is clear from this question. Now I take next problem. Find the range of a function. Example 22. In the example 22, it says that find the range of fx. Find the range of fx is equal to 1 plus 3 cos 2x. You have to find the range of this function. How can you find the range of this function? It is very simple. First of all, I want to say to you what is the meaning of range of this function. Range of this function means that what can be possible value of fx over the real number. As you know that 1 plus 3 cos 2x, you can put any value of x. For any value of real number of x, it is defined everywhere. So as you know that you have to find fx, range of fx. Range of fx means that you have to find collection of all value of fx, a collection of all value of real number for which in which fx lie. That means you have to find the only whole value of, that means only whole value of 1 plus 3 cos 2x. How can you find? Simple. It is very simple. As you know that, as we know that cos 2x is greater than or equal to minus 1 but less than or equal to 1. After multiplying on both side by positive number 3, you get minus 3. That means 3 times cos 2x is greater than minus 3 but less than or equal to 3. If you add on both sides 1, you get minus 3 plus 1. That means 1 plus 3 cos 2x is always greater than minus 3 plus 1 but less than or equal to 3 plus 1. In that case, you can see that from this expression minus 2, that means 1 plus 3 cos 2x. Always less than or equal to, greater than or equal to minus 2 but less than or equal to 4. That means the whole expression of fx, I have already told you, you have to find all value of real number in which fx lie. That means according to this expression you got fx is greater than minus 2, greater than or equal to minus 2 but less than or equal to 4. So you can say that the range of fx is equal to minus 2 to 4. As you know that I think you already know about interval. So if on both sides you take equalities and then you use here closed interval. That means range of this function will be minus 2 to 4. Now we take next problem. This is a very simple problem. In the next question, it is given. They ask to me, find the domain and range of following function. Example 23. Find the domain and range of function. First will be fx is equal to greatest integer function of sin x. It is not a bracket, you have to remember it. It is not a bracket. In your book it is not mentioned. So you can't always consider it is a bracket. It is a particular type of function. It represents here. In your book it is not mentioned, but I want to tell you it represents क्या लिखा है? It represents GIF. GIF means that greatest integer function. Now I want to ask to you, what do you mean by greatest integer function? Sometimes I always told you, definitely before starting trigonometry or any chapter of mathematics, you definitely know about deep knowledge of function. If you have no enough knowledge about function, you can't consider about domain, range, anything of or other any topic of calculus, because without function it is becomes very crucial for you. Now as you know that it represents greatest integer function. First of all, I want to give you some concept of greatest integer function. What do you mean by greatest integer function? By simple way, if we define it very detail, it takes at least 45 or 1 hour time. Only GIF. After it there will be also another function which is known as the smallest integer function. But I want to define only simple way. What does represent the greatest integer function? It is a notation of greatest integer function. It represents, it is the greatest integer of x. GIF of x says represents integral value which is less than or equal to which is nearest less than or equal to which is integral value GIF of x represents integral value which is nearest less than or equal to x. Greatest integer function of x simply represents an integral value which is nearest less than or equal to x. Means that if you want to find the greatest integral value of 2.5, if you want to find the greatest integral value of 0.5, if you want to find the value of greatest integer function of minus 1.5, what will be the its value? its value, what does it represent? That means it is the x. It is x. What does it represent? It says you have to find nearest integral about 2.5. Nearest integral about 2.5, which is either equal to 2.5 or less than 2.5. As you know that 2.5 is not an integral, so it can't be equal to 2.5. Then you have to take nearest integral. In which case, what is the nearest integral value of 2.5 around the 2.5, which is less than 2.5? Definitely you told me. Definitely you will tell me 2. Similarly, if you consider about 0.5, what will be the nearest integral value of 0.5? Because 0.5 is not an integral value. If you take its integral value, then you have to go nearest according to concept of GIF, because GIF says always take the integral value of x, which is about x. That means nearest to x, which is less than also, or it may be equal to. But so here you have to take 0, because nearest value of 0.5, because you have to take negative. Sorry, less than value of given x. In this case, if you take less than and the nearest, then you will definitely find x 0. Similarly, if you take minus 1.5 and you have to go less than of given value, then if definitely you find it, its value will be minus 2. Less than, not greater than, you consider minus 1, but can't be minus 1, because minus 1 is greater than minus 1.5. You have to take less than, and integral and a small nearest, so it will be minus 2. Similarly, if you want to find the greatest integer of 2, then what can you say about it? It is very simple, because 2 is itself a integral value. So don't bother anyone. Simply you have to write it 2. Why do you not go smallest? Because in the definition I have already told you, you have to go nearest or less than or equal to. Here x is already integral, so you don't move anywhere. Simply you have to write greatest integer of function 2, that will be 2. Similarly, if you want to greatest integer minus 5, that will be minus 5. It is the definition of greatest integer function. So I always tell you all of them, you have to always learn about function. Without type of function and concept of function, you can solve problems but can't take concept of mathematics. Now I want to discuss your problem. Similarly, if I want to find the greatest integer function of pi, what can you say about it? What will be the value of pi? Greatest integer function of pi? It is very simple. As you know that pi is equal to 3 point, approx value of pi is equal to 3.14. If you take 3.14, then its value will be 3, because next integral value will be 3. It is the definition of greatest integer function. Now I want to find the domain and range of a function. You have to find the firstly domain. About domain, I have already told you. Domain means that which value of x, that means a set of a real number, you can put in it. If you put x is equal to any real number, 0 degree, 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree, 50 degree, 6 degree, it is always defined. That means it always gives some output. So you can say about it, domain of function is equal to all real number. Why? Because at every real number, for every real number, sin x is defined. Now, if anyone asks you what will be the range of this function, what can you say about it? You will be very careful about it, as you know that sin x is greater than or equal to minus 1 but less than or equal to 1. In that case, point may lie in 3 parts, because as you know that according to this definition, according to concept of GIF, greatest integer function, if you take a straight line and there will be minus 1, there will be 0 and there will be 1, what can you say? May point lie on this pillar, may point lie in this field, may point itself this point, and may point itself this point. Now that means possibility of point, that means x. There are many possibilities. That means first of all, this point may be at minus 1. In that case, if x, that means if whole value of x, sin x. You have to only consider about firstly sin x. After it you can find greatest value. Sin x may be at -1, maybe between -1 and 0 anywhere, maybe at 0, maybe between 0 and 1, 0 and 1 anywhere, maybe at 1. In that case, firstly, if sin x will be, suppose that sin x will be -1, then what will be its greatest integer function? -1. If sin x lies between -1 and 0, what can you say about it? In that case, if you take any value that lies -1 and 0, definitely it goes less than and towards integral. That means take a nearest integral. That means suppose that you take here 0.52 negative minus 0.5 negative 0.52. In that case, definitely it takes the nearest value. Definitely it will go near to -5, -1. It will be again -1. Why do you write again and again? First I have already written -1. Now if you put at the value of 0, what can you say about 0? If you put sin x will be 0, then it gives always 0. If it gives always 0, then what can you say about it? It will be 0. If this point lie 0 and 1, if this point lie 0 and 1, what can you say about it? It always is equal to nearest point 0. It will be again same. If any point lies, suppose that 0.5, what can you say about it? Its greatest integral value will be 0, because you have to take less than and integral. And you know that 0.5 is not an integral. In case of integral, like x will be x. But here it is not an integral. So you have to take a nearest integral value. In that case, 0.5, greatest integral of 0.5 will be 0. And final will be 1. If you take integral value 1, then it will be 1. So its range will be -1, 0 and 1. Now we take next example. I think you understand my point. Now I take next example. Example second. In this question it says fx is equal to greatest integer function of 1 minus 2 cos x. How can you find about this question? First of all, you have to take concept of this function. In which interval or which subset of real number it contains. As you know that, as we know that cos x is greater than or equal to -1 but less than or equal to 1. If you multiply on both sides by -2, then you can say that this sign will be reversed. Then you can say that here -2, if you multiply on both sides -2, then you get -2, that means -2. If you multiply minus minus plus 2 is greater than or equal to -2 cos x is greater than or equal to -2. That means why does it occur? According to property of inequality, I have already told you, when you multiply by negative number of any by negative number in any inequality, then its sign will be reversed. Then you can say that here -2 is greater than or equal to -2 cos 2x. I want to write it in a standard form. -2 cos x and less than or equal to 2. Now if you add in each term by 1, then you can say that -2 plus 1, that means -1 is less than 1 minus 2 cos x less than or equal to 3. It is, that means it says that 1 minus 2 cos x lies between -1 and 3. -1 and 3. Now you have to be here. I want to first of all rub it. Now you have to take a straight line. How many integral value exist for between -1 and 3? First of all, you draw -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. As you know that point may be -1, may be lie between -, and 0, 1, may be at 0, may lie between 0 and 1, may at 1, may lie between 1 and 2, may at 2, may lie between 2 and 3, may lie at 3. That means there are many possibilities, but it becomes very easy to find the range of function, because if point may that means if value of 1 minus 2 cos x is equal to -1, then its greatest integer function will be -1. If point lie between -1 and 0, definitely it will be also -1. You have already written here. Now, if it will be 0, then it will be 0. If point lie between 0 and 1, then 1 minus cos 2x, 1 minus 2 cos x will be 0. So I have already written here 0. Similarly, if you take points between 0 and 1, you take always values 0, which are already written. Similarly, if you take point at 1, then you get point greatest integer value will be 1, because 1 minus 2 cos x is equal to 1, and its greatest integer function will be 1. Similarly, if point lie between 1 and 2, you get definitely 1 again. So I have already written here. If point lie at 2, then you get 2. And if point 2 and 3, again you get 2. And if point 3, then you will get 3. That means it is the set of subset of real numbers which is range of this function, greatest integer function of 1 minus 2 cos x. If here I have found range of this function, but you have to also find domain of function. If you want to find the domain of function, then domain of function will be what? Domain of function will be all real numbers, because fx is equal to, I have already told 1 minus 2 cos x. If you put any value of real number for each and every value of real number, for each and every value of x, it is defined completely. So domain of this function will be all real number, and the range will be minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. I think you understand our matter, that is importance of function. Greatest integer function and smallest integer function is very, very important function. Other than that, all function becomes very easy for class 11. Now I take example 24. In example 24, find maximum and minimum value of 3 sin square x minus 2 cos square plus 9. Find minimum and maximum value of 3 sin square x minus 2 cos square x plus 9. You have to find the minimum and maximum value of this function. Firstly, let fx is equal to 3 sin square x minus 2 cos square x plus 9. How can you solve this problem? First of all, I want to tell you, you have to convert only single function to trigonometric ratio. So you can write 3 sin square x minus 2 into cos square can be written as 1 minus sin square x plus 9. After it, you can write it as 3 sin square x minus plus 2 sin square x minus 2 plus 9. That means 7. Now you can write it 5 sin square x plus 7. I think whole function transferred into function of sin x. Now, as you know that sin square x is greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 1. I have already written here in previous question. Now, after multiplying on both sides by 5, you get 0. That means 5 times sin square x is greater than or equal to 0 but less than or equal to 5. After adding on both sides 7, you get 7. That means 7 plus 5 sin square x is less than or equal to 12. That means here 7 plus 5 sin square x, what is it? It is the actual function, because 5 sin square x plus 7 is equal to what? That means fx. So you can say that fx lies between 7 and 12. In that case, what can you say about it? In that case, you can say minimum value of fx is equal to 7, but maximum value of fx is equal to 12. That means minimum is equal to 7 and maximum is equal to 12. So minimum of fx is equal to 7 and maximum of fx is equal to 12. It is the final answer. Now we take next example. In the next example, it says that example 25. Find the least value of cos square x plus sec square x. Find the least value of cos square x plus sec square x. How can you solve it? It is very simple. Let fx is equal to cos square x plus sec square x. As you know that it can be written as cos square x plus 1 by cos square x. That means you can write 1 by cos whole square x and it will be cos square x plus 2. You can write 2 cos x into 1 upon cos x minus 2 because cos x will be cancelled plus 2 and minus 2 I have already subtract. Finally you get it will be the cos x plus 1 upon cos x which is whole square minus 2. If you take negative here and positive here, you get like it. What can you say about it? Its value minimum will be 0. Its minimum value will be 0. In that case 0 plus 2. So you can write since cos x minus 1 upon cos x whole square is always greater than or equal to 0. If you add on both sides 2, then you can say that cos x minus 1 upon cos x whole square plus 2 is greater than or equal to 2. That means what does it represent it? It represents fx. That means fx is greater than or equal to 2. That means its main possibility, that means there exist many possibility fx is greater than or equal to 2. That means 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 infinitely. That means its minimum value will be 2. So you can set minimum of fx will be 2. It is final answer of this question. Now we take next example. Next example 26, in which it said that a is equal to, if a is equal to cos square x plus sin x whole to the power 4 for all x in R, then so that a is greater than or equal to 3 by 4 but less than or equal to 1. In this problem it says that if a is equal to this function and for all x belongs to R, then you have to show that value of a is always greater than 3 by 4 but less than or equal to 1. How can you show? It is very simple. There is a concept, let fx is equal to cos square x plus sin x power 4. As you know that, suppose that it is always less than or equal to what? Cos square x plus sin square x. How can you say about it? Because cos square x plus sin square x is equal to 1. Is equal to 1. It is whole value will be 1, and it is if you multiply in this term sin square x. What can you say about it? It may be equal to, other than it goes back. That means small, because sin square x lies between 0 and 1. If you multiply maximum number 1, then it will be same. If you multiply any number that lies between 0 and 1, then in this case it becomes decreases. It becomes decreases. If it decreases, then what will you decrease with original value, that means cos square x plus sin x whole to the power 4. So you can say that its value always is less than or equal to sin cos square x plus sin square x. That means less than or equal to 1. That means I have already find cos square x plus sin x whole to the power always less than or equal to. Now you have to find that it will be greater than or equal to 3 by 4. How can you show? Since a is equal to cos square x plus sin square whole to the power, cos square x can be written as 1 minus sin square x plus sin x whole to the power 4. Now, can you write it as 1 minus, firstly write it in left, sin x whole to the power 4 minus, that means you can write it is sin square x minus half whole square plus 1 minus 1 upon 2 whole square. How can you see? Because if you expand it, you get a square, that means n square to the power 4 plus 1 to the power 4, 1 upon 2 whole square, positive. I have already a subtract, that means both of them will be cancelled over. Now, second term 2ab, that means 2 sin square x into 1 upon 2, 2 to cancel, that means you get minus sin square x. So you can say that here it will be sin square x minus half whole square plus 1 minus 1 upon 4, that means 3 upon 4. As you know that its minimum value will be 0. Its minimum value will be 0. So in case of minimum, its minimum value will be 0. So you can say that. Now I want to rub above the part. since sin square x minus half whole square plus 3 by is always less than or equal to, sorry, greater than or equal to 0. In that case, after adding by on both sides 3 by 4, you can say that sin square x minus 1 upon 2 whole square plus 3 by 4 is greater than or equal to 3 by 4. What does it represent? As you know that it is nothing, just like a because after writing in a standard form as a complete with the help of complete square method, you get this form, this expansion. So you can write it a is greater than or equal to 3 by 4. As I have already got a is greater than or equal to what? A is greater than or equal to 1. Sorry, a is less than or equal to 1, but greater than or equal to 3 by 4. So prove it. I have already get it in the previous concept. Now I take the next example. The next example 27. Find domain of function. Find domain of function. Example, fx is equal to 1 upon under root 1 minus cos x. How can you find the domain of this function? Firstly, I want to again say to you what does represent domain. Domain means which value you can put in this function easily, for which it gives some output that belongs to real number. And you know that this function is not defined at which point? When given denominator will be 0. If this will be 0, then in this case doesn't define. If 1 minus cos x is equal to 0, then it will be 1 upon 0. 1 upon 0, that means that there does not exist any real number. It tends to infinity. As you know that infinity does not belongs to real number. So you have to take 1 minus cos x. 1 minus cos x. In this problem it is given that 1 minus cos x. Yes. That means you have to take all value which is not equal to 0. So domain, you have to write it. Fx is defined if, here it is not written, sorry, 1 upon 1 minus cos x. If 1 minus cos x is equal to not 0. If 1 minus cos x is equal to not 0, that implies that cos x is equal to not 1. If cos x is equal to not 1, then x is equal to what? X is equal to not 12 pi. Because in the next class when I will teach you about trigonometric equation, then I will tell you what it does represent. How can you solve this type problem? X is equal to not 12 pi. That means you can take any value of x other than x is equal to 12 pi. So domain of function will be all real number except 12 pi. Negative sign represents except all real number except 12 pi. It is the set of real number. That represents the domain of this function. Now I take next example. Find the similar problem, but function is changed. Find the domain of this function 4 plus 3 sin x. 4 plus 3 sin x. You have to find the domain and range both of this function. How can you find domain and range of this function? This function is defined. First of all, you have to write this function is defined if fx is defined if this part is equal to not 0, first of all, as well as under root in under root it is not negative. As you know that negative, suppose that minus 2, it is not defined for real number. It does not come in a set of real number. So you can't consider negative in a square root. So you have to take if 4 plus 3 sin x is greater than 0. That implies that 3 sin x is greater than 4. 3 sin x is greater than, that means sin x is greater than 4 by 3. I want to say to you, because if you sin x is greater than 4 by 3, 4 by 3 is not defined. Sorry, 4 by 3. Sin x can't be possible. It will be 4 by 3. Because 4 by 3 is greater than 1. As you know that Sine function always lies between minus 1 and 1. How can you say sin x is equal to 4 by 3? It can't be possible sin x is equal to 4 by 3. Now, he doesn't consider about it. Now, I take another way to find it. Another way. Since sin x is greater than or equal to minus 1 but less than or equal to 1, after multiplying by 3 on both sides, you get minus 3. That means 3 sin x is greater than minus 3 but less than or equal to 3. If you add on both sides 4, you get 1 is greater than 4 plus 3 sin x is greater than 7. That means there is a very interesting factor you get here. 4 plus 3x always greater than 1 and less than or equal to 1. Always greater than 1 and less than or equal to 7. That means there does not. That means whole value of 4 plus 3 sin x can't be 0 as well as less than 0. That means it will be not 0 in any case or negative, because it always lies between 1 and 7. That means its domain will be all real number, because for any real number it lies between 1 and 7. And you know the domain of function means that on which value of real number collection of real number f(x) is defined. So here domain of function will be real number. Now you have to find the range. As you know that range is also found by this process. How can you find? Now, if 4 plus 3 sin x is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 7, after taking on both sides a square root, here you can take negative. Sorry, here you can take a square root. Why? Because you have already know about it. If the whole value lies between 1 and 7, that means positive, as well as 7 is greater than 1. In this case, definitely a square root of 7 also greater than 1. So you can say that from this step you write root under 1 is always root under 4 plus 3 sin x is less than or equal to root under 7. Now root under 1, that means 1 is less than root under 4 plus 3 sin x is less than or equal to root under 7. Now you have to find value of this function, but you get only denominator part. Now what can you say? Now you have to simply find reverse. If you get reverse, then it comes here and it comes here. Why? Do you know? It is very interesting. If 2 is 2 and 3, x is greater than 2 and x is less than 3, then what can you say if you reverse? In this case, 1 upon x is greater than 1 upon 3 but less than 1 upon 2. Why? Because 1 upon 3 is equal to what? 0.33 and 1 upon 2 is equal to 0.5. If you write as like 1 upon 2, 1 upon x is greater than 1 upon 2 and less than 1 upon 3, that means 0.5 and 0.3. It is not meaningless. It is meaningless because 1 upon x is greater than 0.5 and less than 0.3. What does it represent? It is meaningless. So you have to write. Be careful here. If you find reciprocal of x, in that case 1 upon 3, 1 upon x is greater than 1 upon 3 and less than 1 upon 2. So it will be, if you find reciprocal, you get 1 upon root under 7 is less than 1 upon root under 4 plus 3 sin x and 1 upon 1. That means range of this function will be, so range of this function is equal to 1 upon root under 7 and 1. It is the range of this function. I think you understand my point. Very careful. Now your all problems, good problems will be covered. Now you have to what to do? Simply you have to solve your whole exercise, and if you face any problem, any trouble in any problems, you have to send me and I will discuss in next class, in next video. And I think this class will be over today. And now next class I will discuss graph of trigonometric function, because if you do not consider, I will not discuss the graph of trigonometric function, then it creates you many problems. So I say to you again and again, definitely you have to remember, you have to learn graph of trigonometric function. It becomes very useful for you. But before over the class, I want to define another term, periodic function. What do you mean by periodic function? It is very simple. A real function fx is said to be periodic if there exists p belongs to real number such that fx plus p is equal to fx. fx plus p is equal to fx. Here there may be there may exist an infinitely value of p which satisfy that. So that is, there exists many value of p which satisfy it. Now, so a smallest value of p is called period of this function. Period of this function. Now, I want to say to you, firstly I have to explain with some examples. I think you have written it. Period of function means that sin x, cos x. Basically, sin x, cos x and trigonometric function is very famous for period of function. Do you know, if you take any circular function and suppose that it is represents angle theta, if you rotate by 2 pi, then you get a very interesting fact. Can you say about it? What do you get? You get a very interesting fact. Always it gives again same value. That means after which value? After 2 pi. You get again after 2 pi same 4 pi same value. That means there exists 2 pi value of, that means p is equal to 2 pi, maybe p is equal to 4 pi, maybe there exists infinitely many value. After it, sin x maybe sin 2 pi plus x is equal to sin x. You can say that sin 4 pi plus x is equal to sin x. Sin 6 pi plus x. That means there exists many value of p for which sin fx plus p is equal to fx. Then I have written here minimum value of p. Then for which value of what is the minimum value of p for which sin x is repeated? I think you can consider here 2 pi. That means period of sin x is equal to 2 pi. Period of similarly cos x is equal to 2 pi. But what can you say about 10x? Do you know about 10x? Very interesting. Be careful here. If you draw its graph, suppose that this represents theta, then it represents tan theta. Tan theta is equal to what? P by B. Now, if you take its reverse, what does it represent? It represents pi plus theta. Do you know tan pi plus theta is also tan theta? Why? Because P is it is P which is negative and it is B which is also negative. So it will be minus P by minus B. Minus cancel, so it is also P by B. That means tan theta is repeated after only pi. It is the minimum value. I know it also repeats after 2 pi. 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi. But you have to find the minimum value of P for which it repeats value. That means 10x, period of sin x is period of 10x is equal to pi. This is the logic behind it. Now I think similarly cot x pi, cos x 2 pi, sec x 2 pi and sin cosec x 2 pi. It is very simple. 10x, that means cot x, you can write pi, cosec x, sin x and cosec x. Both will be 2 pi and cosec x also having cosec x, cos x and sec x also having 2 pi. It is the concept behind it. Now I want to give you a standard formula of period of a function. If you have to find a sin bx, its period, or a cos bx, its period, a tan bx. What can you say about it? It doesn't affect for tan bx. It will be period of sin bx. That means if you x is multiplied by b and in whole sin x you multiply by any constant and x is multiplied by b, then you get its period 2 pi b magnitude of b. Similarly, a into cos bx period having 2 pi by magnitude of b. If you want to find a period of this function, then it will be pi by magnitude of b. It gives period of this function. Now I will take some example. If anyone asks to find period of 4 sin x, first question, second question sin 4x, third question minus cos x, fourth question 5 sin 3x. What can you say about its period? Its period will be 2 pi by coefficient of x will be 1.